The Vice President of Refugee and Immigration Services for Catholic Charities in Boston, Margine Perhat, joins us now to talk about what she's seeing on the ground there. Thank you so much for joining us, Margine. Tell us about the crisis in Boston. What led to the declaration of a state of emergency that you were forced to respond to?
Well, thank you very much for reaching out to us here in Boston. I'm happy to talk about the housing situation crisis that has allowed Catholic Charities the opportunity to increase its work that we do with providing shelter to new arrivals and residents who have been part of the Commonwealth their whole lives. So in the summer, the governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey, did declare a state of emergency for a housing crisis that we have. The crisis is not a migrant crisis. The crisis is a housing crisis. We do not have enough affordable housing stock here in Massachusetts, and our shelters for emergency shelter for people that are in need of housing were becoming extremely full. And the state of emergency allowed for some more resources to be opened up to help serve those who are in most need.
And what is it like for your team on the ground? What conditions are people arriving in or are you dealing with? And do you have enough supplies and team members to help them?
Well, the situation on the ground is definitely very dynamic and changes frequently. What Catholic Charities has been able to do is stand up a brand new emergency shelter whereby we are serving 45 families that are comprised of an average of about 4 people per family. And so our shelter is being run out of a former hotel. So we were able to get that shelter up and running within 3 weeks of being asked by the government to help out with the situation. And the families are coming, most of them, about 80% are new arrivals to the U.S., mostly from Haiti and some from South America. And most are coming just with a small bag, the clothes on their backs, and the children as well, who don't have very much at all. So what we have been doing, in addition to what we would do for any person in our shelters, is conducting a comprehensive intake to see what they need to start getting people on a path to self-sufficiency and long-term integration, eventually, which is always our goal for folks, but meeting their basic needs: food, clothing, referrals for health appointments. We have a number of pregnant moms. In fact, I think we had 3 new babies that were born in the last week, which, children are always a blessing. And helping kids to get enrolled in school, arranging for student groups to come in and do tutoring, and also just playing with the kids. We've got a lot of little ones that are very active, and so we quickly put together a play space with age-appropriate toys and things for the children to be able to do. It is in the summer that we started our shelter in July, right after July 4th. And so, there was some time when trying to keep the kids occupied before they get into school.
So then what policies would be helpful? You mentioned that 80% of those are new arrivals. What would be helpful to ease this challenge that you have in Boston?
So what I can say from our experience with these new arrivals, and we've served new arrivals here in Massachusetts, since Catholic Charities started in 1903. Of course, this situation is slightly different, as are all new arrival groups. But what policies would be very helpful is for work permits to be expedited for these newcomers. The majority of the people that we are working with are of a working age, are extremely eager to go to work, but it takes a very long time for the paperwork to be processed with the U.S. government to admit a work permit. So one of the things we would love to see, if there was any type of possibility of expediting those. Obviously, policies or supports, maybe is a better word, for affordable housing. Massachusetts is in a housing crisis, and, more housing needs to be developed. So that's a little bit more of a long-term, obviously, solution. But I would say that right now, for us, the work permits are very critical.
And you mentioned children. I know that in New York, they had 21,000 new students enrolled that were not part of the regular population and expected population. Do you have similar issues with schools in Boston as well?
I wouldn't have the exact data on that. What I can say, though, is that the folks that we've been working with at our local public schools have been very receptive and come out to the shelter to help enroll the children that we are working with into schools. I certainly can imagine it's a little bit of a stress for schools to have new kids coming in, but it's been very heartwarming here in Massachusetts to see the outpouring of support and willingness to try creative methods of getting kids enrolled, such as going to shelters, bringing the school enrollment staff to a shelter to help get kids into school. We've had a lot of generous support for school supplies. That was something that was definitely lacking. We've got college groups of students, who are just coming back to school themselves, but they're helping out, packing up backpacks and helping to get kids ready for the school year.
Well, it sounds like you need a lot of help, so we'll leave it right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.